Welcome to Empowering the Next Generation podcast. I am Helen Veru. This podcast is dedicated to help anyone connected to preteens and teens to give them tools, empower and inspire teachers, high school senior leaders, and parents to build the future leaders of tomorrow. We discuss about controversial and relevant topics related to the world of education, the main problems you are facing, and solutions to help you navigate your journey. We want to make a positive change in education by bringing on experts that will give you a different perspective on how you can solve the hardship you are facing today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Empowering the Next Generation podcast again for another episode. I am so grateful that you're here with us. We have an amazing guest speaker again. His name is Jonathan Kegler, and he's going to share his insight about his time in education. He's going to talk about his expertise. And if you want to ignite your school community, you want to develop leaders, and also you want to create meaningful connection, this is the right place for you. Don't forget to join my free masterclass From Educator to CEO. If you don't know where to start and you want to start your journey, your entrepreneurial journey, I encourage you to click on the link in the comment section and we will start the journey together. So thank you so much for being part of what we do. We are here to make a difference in education. So today, Jonathan Kegler is the founder of the No Box Thinking. He's a transformational leader. He rebuilds broken systems in schools. I love that about what he's doing. He's actually helping underperforming schools to develop into overlooked talents. And his challenge is really to help people measure success. He wants to promote different concepts such as turning pawns into players, spectators into owners, and systems into springboards for growth. So thank you so much, Jonathan, for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, this is amazing because we all know that there is such education is actually being challenged nowadays, and we are looking for people like you, educational consultant like you, who can actually bring a solution. And I love your framework, the no thinking framework. You're going to talk about it to the audience. You're going to share like your expertise, and really you're going to inspire anyone listening to us into really helping them to grow into finding their own talent. So just share briefly how you started that journey as an
Well, I
educational
started the
consultant.
journey. Yeah, I started the journey as a principal almost 15 years ago. And in my
Wow.
first school, it was actually an unacceptable school. And so I came in with my first faculty meeting. I threw a proverbial box on the table and I had a watch at the time. I stopped wearing a watch because the time is always now. But I threw that watch in there and I said, look, from here on out, we are burning the box. We're not going back to the box of conformity because that's what's
Wow.
gotten us to the place we are today. You guys have been
Wow.
so focused on compliance that you haven't been given ownership. And so no box thinking is all about giving others ownership. Ownership also comes with responsibility because you have to be responsible for your actions. But when you do that, you start to develop the next generation of leaders and not just followers. And that's what I'm all about. I want you to lead your life and make sure that you maximize it to be the best that you can be.
I love that. As an educator, I've actually taught globally, and I can see that the educational system lacks to put people in boxes. So the fact that you talk about let's really break the box, let's do something different, it's so meaningful. We need your voice and your message in this system. So you grew up hearing how many I got. Okay, so what did that question teach you about success, and where did you realize it was the wrong score card?
Wow. See, that phrase came from a childhood friend. And he would always, after our basketball games, he'd be like, how many I got? And he was talking about points. So I
Mm,
started to think about that. And I thought about it in my leadership lens. And when I was first coming into leadership, like I said, 15 years ago, over a decade and a half, I was thinking about how many can I turn around? How many schools can I turn around? How many kids can I get to pass this test? How many teachers can I get to, master this observation format? But I was like, my thought process is wrong. I need to start thinking about how many leaders have I developed? How many people have I empowered? How many parents have I shown the way? How many, parents have I shown that you can be an advocate for your kid? You don't have to come in cussing and fussing, but you can come in and you can talk with respect. You can talk kindly, and you can get the desired result there. That was the biggest thing. And then going back to what you said in the beginning about the pawns, I started a chess team at pretty much every school I've had. And for anybody that knows, the pawn is the smallest piece on the board.
Mm.
However, when I came into my kids, I was like, okay, so what are you going to do? Who has a move named after them? And they all started looking around like, what is he talking about? I'm like, you got to have a move named after you. And they were like, oh, no. And I started naming off all those high level moves. I said, because every master has a move named after them. And it just went quiet in the room. And I said, one more thing I'm going to tell you. Now, this is the first meeting. I always start with them like this. I said, I promote pawns. And they were like, what? Because they're just learning the game. So then I come back in a few weeks later and I said, what does it mean for me to promote pawns? And they said, it means we can move off the board. And once we get there, we can become anything we want to be. I said, aha, I got you now. Now you understand that you can become anything you want to be because I'm going to empower you from day one. And we had students who had been labeled with special education, with learning disabilities that were in our chess club that actually won matches, became champions. And at the end of the day, it wasn't about restricting them. It was about showing them that the world has put you in a box, even before you were 7 years old. Like the conscious wiring, the subconscious wiring, like you were framed to think a certain way. And so here I am coming to rewire your system to, put that jump start on
Yes.
your heart and say, let's go, to get you excited about learning. And when I give you that power, now I go into the classroom and the teacher doesn't have to teach. The students are on fire and they're teaching. And that's the biggest thing for me. How many leaders do I got? How many pawns have I promoted? How many people have I empowered? Have I given the tools necessary to truly transform their lives?
I love that. I love it. This is so powerful what you're talking about. You are talking about transformational leadership. But I believe that there are so many principles like you who didn't do the job because you're talking that way now because I believe that you did the inner job to get to that level in your life. Your mindset has to shift. It's if your mindset didn't shift, I suppose you would be the same person that you started 15 years ago. But
Yes.
you are in that place where you want to bring transformation. But I believe that the system is so sometimes so difficult. How did you actually shift your mindset as a principal to realize, okay, this I want to transform leaders? What is the aha moment in your life?
My aha moment was my why, and that's my son. At the time, he was a student
Wow.
in my school. Like most principals, when they go to an unacceptable campus or a campus that's not thriving, they won't bring their kids. But I'll not only buy the product, I not only sell the product, I buy the product. So my son was right there in those classes. And he was proof. And I would always tell teachers, I would always tell my administrators, those people that were over me, my leadership, if it's not good enough for Jameson, it's not good enough for anyone. And when they started to realize that, my wife, even one school I was at, she got to work with me. If it's not good enough for Tangela as a teacher, as a leader, it's not good enough. And when it wasn't good enough for mine, how could it be good enough for another person's? And so I brought that passion to the table all the time. And for most people, what you're mentioning is that mindset shift. Identity shifting happens all the time. If you think about it, you shifted in your life. When you went from elementary to middle school, you shifted into another regime. When your brother or sister or your mom or dad had a sibling, had your sibling, then you shifted into, I'm not just an only child, or I'm not just having one or two. Now I'm a brother or a sister. Now, if you had a kid, I'm a mom or a dad, or I'm an uncle or an aunt. If my brother or sister had a kid, you shifted into a new identity. And when you shift into a new identity, you become a new. Most people don't realize you are one identity shift away from changing your life. Yes, you've been in education for a long time, but don't allow neutral, right? Don't allow neutrality to be the tranquilizer that stifles and numbs your transformation. That changes today. Like we're connecting from across seas. There are bodies of water that are between us, but nothing is stopping the fire and the passion that Helen has, nor I have. So today I'm telling you, I shifted from just being Jonathan Kegler to Principal K. Then I would have to shift when I would go coach my son in basketball and shift from Jonathan Kegler to Principal K to Coach K. I had to shift into that identity to bring my best self to the table so that nobody around me just stifled in and just stayed boxed into what they were told that they could do. You don't need permission when you're around me. We're striking that match, we're burning that box, and we're saying we're going to make a way. We're going to make it possible.
I love that. It's interesting. You have such a passion when you talk, and this is very powerful because I believe that most people are not really aligned with their values, and I see you becoming that person that you are called to be into a higher dimension.
Yes.
However, not everybody has that growth mindset.
Mhm.
I have been working in many schools, and it's really take, I believe, alignment and purpose to be in that position where you are empowering people, because you can, I feel like there is a difference between performance and really purpose and alignment, and you are not performing, and your community is really blessed to have you as
Thank you.
a principal, as because you are doing the work on yourself, and you are making a difference in their life, not just by for academics results, but really transforming the person in itself. But not everybody is like that. And this is very interesting, because I wish and I want anyone listening to us, any educators, any school leaders, any parents listening to us, I believe that you have the same power as Jonathan has. I believe that he has the power to really shift mindsets. And how did he do so? I believe is by doing the personal work. And and
Yes.
and if people don't do that work, if people don't believe, they don't have hope, and they don't embrace change, I don't think it's going to be possible.
I
And
agree.
we need to encourage people to shift their mindset for growth and transformation, because at the end of the day, we need to build the next generation. We need to make a difference in their lives so they can actually be better than us. This is why the podcast is empowering the next generation. It's about empowerment, about transforming the inner self, because we want to create meaningful connection, develop leaders, and ignite. And you have that passion of, you like to ignite people, Jonathan. So what are the invisible boxes that you're talking about? How do they determine who gets stuck and who gets promoted?
Because it's ingrained in us from when we first start, from what side of the tracks that you grow up on. Like literally, it's that simple. What neighborhood you're from, how your parents got to whatever. Like in the States, what we have is at risk labels that are put on people, and these at risk
Mm,
labels are put on kids at an early age if they came from a single home, if they were born to teenage parents. Like what people don't realize is I was born to teenage parents. Like I was labeled at risk from the very beginning, but that
mm,
wasn't anything that stopped me. My mother used to always tell me when I would say, "Why do I have to always be a leader? Why can I never make the mistake? Why do I have to be picture perfect? I'm the oldest in my family." So I have a younger brother and sister. And then all of my friends and everybody else, they could take the risk, they could take the chances, but I never could. And she said, "I want to tell you one thing, son. Don't ask why me. Ask why not me." And when I
mm,
framed that mindset, when I went into it with a mindset like that, when I realized I was a leader at a young age, yes, I stood out. I didn't fit in the crowd. And for most people, another box is we've always done it this way. You just have to do it this way. Pay your dues. Money doesn't grow on trees. Who do you think you are? All of those things. You talk proper. All of those things that separate us. Your skin tone is a certain color or is a certain hue. All of those things that have taught us that we are not good enough, that we are not sufficient. Self-love and self-worth starts first. So yes, you mentioned that. T.O. said it back in the day when he was playing sports. I love me some me. And it's not a vain situation that you do that, but you have to love who you are. If you look at
mm,
that man or woman in the mirror and you cannot smile at them, you cannot tell them that you love them, you cannot tell them that you're proud of them, then how can somebody else from the outside tell you? I was
mm,
stuck in neutral for so long, Helen, in my life. And you saying today that I'm becoming, that I'm chasing my passion, my calling is confirmation. Those words that you spoke, that literally spoke life into me and gave me a little bit more to run. But I was stuck in neutral for so long, and I was
mm,
labeling things wrong. I was
mm,
labeling things that people were tolerating me versus celebrating me. I was saying the
mm,
world is just tolerating me, it's not celebrating me. But you know what I had to do? When I did that inner work, I realized I was tolerating myself. I was playing small to keep other people comfortable. I wasn't stepping up and stepped in the ownership for what I was doing. And guess what that was doing? That wasn't hurting me. That was hurting everybody else in my tribe who was coming after me. I'm putting out a frequency today. This podcast is putting out a frequency to the world. And like you mentioned, if you're in a school, if you're in a community, if you're just in a family and you need somebody to come in and be a thought leader with you, to fire you up, an ultimate disruptor kind of guy, reach out to me. It's time to get to work. I'm putting this out because my tribe and my frequency is going to change the game. And it's not just going to change it for me, it's going to change it for everybody else. You don't need permission to be powerful. You can start right here today. I promote pawns. I need you to move forward on this board. The pawn can only move one step at a time. And some people are just stifled from, I got to have this perfect path forward. I got to move forward in just this way. Oh, I'll start the podcast when it's perfect. No, start it today. Let Helen be your motivation. Don't wait. Don't delay. Don't allow perfection to paralyze you. And I think those are some of the boxes that people come across in life. And the final one that they do is, I'm going to think outside the box. And I cringe when people say that, because guess what? The conformities and pressure of the world, the failure that you exhibit, the failure that you experience forces you to go right back into that box. So you got to burn the box, just like people burn the boats, they burn the bridges, and they say, I'm not going back. There's nothing back there for me. I'm moving forward. So that's the thing with me. Recognizing your box, understanding your box, and then shifting into that new person, into that new transformational ideology, and to that new inspired person that definitely catapults you into your calling.
I love that. But you see, this is so powerful what you've been talking about, the different boxes. But I believe you have not been like that. There is a time in your life where, let's talk about that Jonathan, like, I'm not sure, maybe 20 years ago, that Jonathan that wasn't the Jonathan that he is today. And I know that you talked about your why. That's the reason why you became that person, because of your son, your family. But now let's go deeper, because there are people like you listening, not like you, but like the Jonathan 20 years ago that are
No,
listening
for
to
sure.
us. And they're like, how did it get that passion? How did it get that drive? Because like it takes such a, a deep introspection to really reach that level. You were not that Jonathan,
Yes.
the Jonathan that you are now. So let's talk about that Jonathan, and just talk to that person listening to us that is not in that place of real of confidence, that place of strength, of power, of mindset. What you can tell them that you didn't have at that time, that Jonathan that you didn't have at that time. Think about him, what you wanted to hear at that time. Can you just tell them something?
No, for sure. So it's something that I've already teased to, and I can definitely expound upon that 7-year-old self. You know,
Mm,
everybody does their, well, not everybody, but a lot of people do vision boards. And so I have a
yes.
vision board. And actually, one of the pictures on the vision board is my 7-year-old self. I have a bow tie. It's a school picture. I'm tightened up. I'm smiling big, but on the inside, I'm crying. And I'll tell
Hmm.
you about that 7-year-old Jonathan. He's in class and he's writing a paper about what he wants to be when he grows up. And so I'm
Wow.
writing that paper. And as I'm writing that paper, I turn it in. I'm excited. I'm the first one to turn my paper in. Now, let me
Mm,
rewind that and give you the backstory. I'm the only Black African American male in this class. It's a gifted
wow.
and talented class. So like I told you about those at-risk labels, I ripped that off. And now I'm one of the thrivers. The only other Black student in my class was my cousin, a girl. And so I'm excited. I'm like, man, I know. I turn that paper in. My teacher reads the paper and she says, I'm sorry to tell you, but there'll never be a Black president. And at that
Wow.
time, it hit me, it hurt me, it boxed me into thinking, okay, well, maybe I can't do it. Maybe I need to play back. Maybe I need to play safe. You know, my paper started coming in a little bit slower. I went home and my parents could tell my grades started to kind of change because I'm normally an A student. They're like, what's going on? And I told them. They went to the school and they fought for me. And when they fought for me, something inside began to change. The next year, that's when chess was introduced to me. I not only mastered chess, but I won the chess tournament at my campus. I saw the game of chess. It opened me back up. So that box that I've been boxed into, that saying I promote pawns, I was the first pawn that I promoted. I navigated my way across the board that wasn't designed for me. And so, what I would tell someone is, I need you to think about that 7-year-old you, that 5-year-old you that was full of energy, full of ideas, full of passion. And I need you to channel your Toys R Us commercial. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but I need you to go on YouTube and I need you to search it. And there was this one commercial that I always keep in my heart. And it says, I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. I keep that in my mind. I have a youthful mindset. Yes, I'm old in age. I got a little gray in the beard and my son messes with me, but I'm still young at heart. And if you go back to that 6 or 7 year old you, it will reignite you. Too many times we've lost that. And guess what? We've become 7-year-old, 50-year-olds. Just because I'm
Mm,
old in age doesn't mean I'm mature. We're still trapped mindset wise from when we were younger, when people told us what we could and couldn't have, when people told us how much we could put on our plate. No, if you're hungry, it's time to eat. Like, don't wait. Enthusiasm, attitude, tenacity. I wasn't even talking about food. I'm talking about your passion. Like, where are you at? Why are you stuck? Go back and remember that. And when you go back and do that work, I promise you things will begin to change. But you can't identity shift if you're stuck in neutral. If you're stuck in that 7-year-old you, you'll never find your passion again. You'll never
mm,
find that twinkle in your eye. You see, kids come to school and we take that twinkle out. They believe they can do anything they want to do when they're first coming.
that's it.
ABCs and
That's
one,
it.
two, threes. How many kids are not doing that? Everybody's loving that. But when they get to first, second, third grade, things begin
Mm,
to shift, things begin to change because we medicate them with education. We
yes,
medicate
yes.
instead of educate. It's time to start educating. And guess what? Thinking, how many courses are called thinking? None. How many new philosophers, new thinkers are we putting out into the world? None. So it's time, if you're an educator on the other side of this line, it's time for you to start having your own lineage, your own thinking
Mm,
tree, that you're having the next generation of thinkers being there. But you got to be comfortable in your own skin because guess what?
yeah.
Those kids are going to challenge you. They're going to ask why. They're going to ask why. They're going to ask why. And they're going to ask why again. And when they keep asking why and you don't have the answer for them or you try to stifle or dumb down that why, you are
Mm,
now fizzling them out. They're not on fire. Ty
yes.
Whitaker, one of my guys, he always says it. If the leader catches a cold, the whole school gets sick. So I remixed that and I say, you know what? When the leader catches on fire, the whole school catches on fire. So I'm
That's
lit.
it.
So now you're about to be lit. Do you know that one little match can burn down a whole forest? It's all because you're on fire. You got to get that passion, and then everyone else does.
Yes, yes. I so believe that the principal of the school is the motivator to change the school the community, the school community. And there are so many school leaders who need to hear this message, who need to bring back the fire inside of them. And if they're not meant to be school leaders, why not change? And as you say, shift your mindset and do something different. Because
Yes.
when you are in the school still system, you're actually changing the next generation. You are building leaders. And if you don't have that passion, obviously you won't be able um, to change, to help them leave a legacy as well. It's not just to be a principal, but also leave a legacy. I want you to talk about the different challenges that you had as a principal as well, because yes, it's good to have the fire, all the motivation, but I'm sure that you came across some parents, some
Oh,
educators, some people who didn't believe your dreams
yes.
into the no thinking box. So
Uh-huh.
what were the challenges? Talk about the few challenges that you actually encountered.
Man, when I first came in, I was 26, 27 years old. So I'm young enough to be some of my teachers that have been teaching for that long, young enough to be their child. And so me coming in, bouncing off the walls, coming in, hijacking their lessons, because I'll go in and cover up their wall. Like, no, kids, answer my questions. Don't even look at what the teacher has on the board. And they're like, what? But the kids love that. But I dealt with teachers who had been stuck in their ways, who had just been collecting a check, who had long lost their passion. And I had to find a way to reignite that. I had to tap
Wow.
into, I had to be a counselor, a coach, a friend, a shrink. I had to be it all. Like they had to come into me and almost get a midweek sermon sometimes just for me to fire them up. But I dealt with teachers, and then I dealt with parents who they had been in special education or they had been put to the back burner. They had to go to class outside in a whole nother building. So their connotation of somebody needing support or needing assistance was negative. And they thought if their kid needed support or if their kid had a learning disability and me bringing them in to talk to them about that, they thought, oh, he's going to put my kid out to the side and forget about it. But I
Mm,
had to show them, no, this is the way we're going to do it. I had to educate them. So then I began to educate the old school
mm,
teacher, the
I'm
parent.
writing.
Then I had the leadership that was above me who was trying to stifle and say, no, just do this or no, just be comfortable with this. But I had to show them that purpose precedes prescribed. Like you can prescribe me this. just because it's a general script. Like when you go to the doctor and you say, okay, these are my symptoms, they're just gonna give you the same thing they pretty much give everybody else. But you need to tell the doc, no, these are my things. This is what I have. This is what it's not like everyone else. And when you're not afraid to be the research, you see, I stopped reading the research. What that's contrary to what most people think. They're stuck in books. Let me read. Let me figure out what somebody. I stopped being reading the research and I started being the research. And you
Mm,
had to step out on your own. Sometimes that's the quietest journey, the loneliest journey in leadership.
yeah.
When you
Mm,
look around and you have no thought partners, when you look around and have nobody else around. But once I started putting out my frequency, guess what? No box thinking then became a chat. And that chat inspired me and tapped me into people all across the world. We literally trended above the NBA All-Star game, our first chat, long time ago. And people
wow.
began to come around. And when I surrounded myself with people who were thought leaders, who were transformational leaders, my whole process began to shift and change. And so
Mm,
I didn't just stop at those no's, because I realized that all of those no's were just one no closer to a yes. I
mm,
didn't allow that to, distract me or keep
perseverance.
me away from going to where I wanted to go. I continued to move forward, even if it was step by step, even if it was small steps. I didn't stop moving forward because I truly believed in what was possible. And now, once you do this, this was the number one thing that I think I did with all of those people that I just named. I gained try-in. Most people say we're going to gain buy-in. We need to get everybody to buy into what we're doing. No, get them to gain try-in. Think about when you go to test drive a car. They put the surround sound on best that it can be. They put the seat warmers on or the seat coolers on. Everything is just perfect. The smell. They take you on a strip where you can go as fast or as slow as you want to go. And they put you in and they say, go, just try it. Take it for a
Mm,
test drive. And once you do that, you're hooked. You want the car. You want the new house. You want whatever it is. The relationship when you go out on the first date. Remember the whining and dining, and they're going to take you to the best place they can take you, the best place that their money can buy. Remember that. And guess what? Everything is all meant to get you to try it. And once you try it, you can't go back. And so that was my biggest thing. I wanted them to try the new way. I didn't want them to buy it. I didn't want them conformity. I didn't want them compliance. I didn't want to write them up. I didn't want to lord over them or you better do it my way or the highway. No, I want you to just try it. And if you try it and it doesn't work, then like you mentioned about some of those principles that may not need to be. If this is not the fit for you and there's another school, I promise you, I will let you go and do whatever you need. I'll write you the best letter of recommendation. I've never held anyone back from chasing or going where they want to be. But
mm,
if this is for you and you truly love and care about kids, then we're going to do magic. And every single school I've been at, it's 5 now that I've turned around. But every
wow.
school that I've turned around
Amazing.
was at the bottom, but we didn't stay there. We moved forward because we empowered the kids, we empowered the parents. We weren't afraid of them. Like we brought them to the table. We all have to make this decision. And at the end of the day, I put that kid in the center of the table and said, look, this kid is what we're here for. All these adults and all these personal feelings and all of these, none of that means anything. Like, grill that beef up and eat it like it's a hamburger. We need to be here for this kid's best interest. And when we can do that, when we can all focus on that, then we can move forward. So it didn't come by everybody just singing kumbaya and being all on board. Yes, there were some
Mm,
rocky roads. Yes, some people didn't believe. But at the end of the day, when they saw their kid thriving, their daughter or their son loving education, they then began to change.
mm,
When the teachers began to see that student that was a problem student that now began
yes,
to take ownership and leadership, they began to change. So sometimes you have to show them before they believe. And that's okay with me.
yes.
I'm fine with that. But I never stopped going towards the final goal, which was ultimately student success.
I love it. This is powerful. You know, when you were talking, I took some notes about some of keywords that came out to me when you were sharing that message. I heard the word love. You
Mhm.
love people, Jonathan, and I
Yes.
feel this is what is missing in education is a love for people.
Yeah.
Like people are just doing their job, but they are
Yes.
not really they're not passionate and they don't love people. And I feel this is so important. If you want to bring transformation, you need to love people and you have a heart. You are someone who really, really love human being and you have a heart of servanthood. And the reason why I say that is because in the things that I do as well, I talk about wise leadership. And for
Mhm.
me, wisdom is key. And
Yes.
if you want to grow in wisdom, it needs to start first from healing. And I feel you've
Yes.
done the work. as a
Yes.
whole person. Many people are in that community, school community, but they are not healed. And I
Yes.
feel like if you're not healed, you cannot talk the way you're talking, Jonathan.
Yes.
Like it's simple. It's
Right.
not
I mean, you can't
possible.
pour from an empty cup. You're 100% correct. And so many
Yes,
people are trying to pour from an empty cup and
that's
wondering why
it.
they don't have. But then when somebody comes in with a full cup, now I got a problem with you because your cup is full. No, do the
That's it.
healing work, and then your
That's
cup can
it.
be full too.
That's it. And this is what we need. We need to have more people healed, parents healed, teachers healed, principles like you healed. And then you really focused on vision. I love how you were clear about your vision when you talked to the parents, you and the people around you, your community, you made it clear, this is what I want, this is where I'm going, this is what we are doing together.
Right.
So I feel like vision is key, and it brings clarity, because
Mhm.
when you clear as a leader and you talk to adults, they're trying and they want to listen to you. Then
Yes.
I heard the word connection.
Yes.
I love that you connected to their level. Everybody you connect. It was extra work, but
Yes, for sure.
you were seeing the person, and this is what most principals want a certain result in the community, but they don't really model. And I heard the word modeling. You were modeling what you wanted the teachers to model in classes. You wanted the parents to model with their kids. You are modeling what your vision. You are modeling your message. And I heard as well the word trust,
Yes.
and people trusted you at that point where everything was clear. You connected. You were like perseverant in what we were doing.
Yes.
Then they trusted you and they said, okay, you know what, we're on board, we want to make that try. This is so beautiful. I'm a John Maxwell certified coach, and he talks about all of these keys,
Yes.
these laws, the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, and you are embodying
Yes,
like
ma'am.
the transformational leadership in school. I love it. So just let's think about the no thinking box. Okay,
Mhm.
one more word. When you
Mhm.
hear people listening to us, they hear the words no thinking box.
Mhm.
Just give us a little motto. No
Mhm.
thinking box, and just ignite their minds one more
Yes.
time. Last
Yes.
word.
You don't need permission. Start right where you are with what you have.
I love it. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to the podcast. We see you in the next episode, and make sure that if you want to become an educational consultant like Jonathan, John Matthew Masterclass from Educator to CEO, and we will make a difference in education together. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Jonathan, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode, and make sure you connect with us on Instagram at The Keys for Success. Check also my link tree and become an affiliate of the Success Guide for Teens Academy, a program that will empower your school community as a parent, teacher, and high school senior leader. Do not hesitate to reach out, comment, and share. Until then, see you in the next episodes.